So welcome back to another episode of the Championship Roundup. We have just had a crazy weekend of Championship action. It's got to be one of the highest scoring weekends so far. We had 3 separate matches with 6 goals scored in them. And we are now heading into another international break. But going into that international break, that is how the Championship table is now lining up. So we've got West Brom and Nottingham Forest as the top 2. And then making up the playoffs, we've got Preston, North End, Swansea City, Leeds United and Bristol City. Then at the bottom 3, we have Reading, Barnsley and Stoke. Stoke picking up their first win of the season this weekend. So a lot to go over. Before we do get into any of the action, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then fair play. I didn't get any of mine correct this week and it was quite an unpredictable one. We had some really topsy-turvy scorelines going on, so we got a few things to talk about in today's video. So without any further ado, let's hop into it. So starting out with Friday night's game between Birmingham and Middlesbrough, the home side walking away with all 3 points in this one. And to be honest, they probably should have got more than the 2 goals they eventually went on to get, and they should have definitely killed this game off earlier than they did as well. But Birmingham playing some really nice football going forward. We've seen sort of small glimpses of Birmingham at times playing some nice sort of possession based football going forward, but that was on full show in this one. They started out really well, had a lot of chances early on, and if it wasn't for Darren Randolph, Borough could have been on the end of an absolute battering in this one. Villalba had a fantastic chance after about 2 minutes, but Randolph made a brilliant reflex save. They hit the post, they hit the crossbar. Randolph was called upon multiple times for this one, but eventually it was Villalba who did give Birmingham the lead. A really nice give and go between him and Maxime Colin on that right hand side. Colin whipped the ball into Villalba and then he took his goal very well. That one just snuck under Randolph, and then Birmingham continued to create chances, but the longer that went on for, you felt like that maybe Middlesbrough just get that one chance late on and then they'd go and level it up. They did go ahead and do that with Daniel Ayala, but thankfully for Birmingham, Odin Bailey, the 19-year-old, was on hand to give them all 3 points with an 89th minute winner. A really nice assist from Dan Crowley in that one as well. And I've liked seeing Birmingham, you know, giving a lot of their younger players a chance this season. Obviously, Jude Bellingham has got a lot of plaudits so far this season with some of the goals he scored. He also played very well in this one. But it was a really good positive performance from Birmingham. The only sort of negative was that they didn't get more than the 2 goals they went on to get. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, really average for this game. It was a really stale performance from their point of view, and I think that Jonathan Woolgate's got a lot of work to do over the international break. Fulham against Charlton ended as a 2-2 draw. Lately, Charlton have had a really tough run of fixtures. They've had Leeds, Swansea and Fulham as their last 3 matches, and picking up 4 points from those 3 games isn't a bad return at all. It was Charlton who took the lead in this one. Really nicely taken goal from Conor Gallagher with the ball dropping back to him in the box. If there's one sort of midfielder you don't want to let that ball fall to, it is Gallagher. He's looking better every time I see him play for Charlton. But Fulham came back strong in the second half. Cavallero running at the Charlton defence, and then a brilliant finish with his left foot into the top corner pass. Phillips made it 1-1. Bond then made it 2-1 for Charlton though. Brilliant ball swung into the box from Darren Pratley, who's actually been a really underrated midfielder in the league so far. You know, I said when Charlton were initially promoted, having, you know, a midfielder like Darren Pratley in there isn't going to keep you up this season, but I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong about him. He's actually been really solid for Charlton so far. But 5 minutes later, Fulham did find the equaliser, this time Mitrovic once again getting on the score sheet, currently the Championship's top scorer. Charlton did get a little bit unfortunate for that one. Mitrovic was in an offside position when the ball was played from Tom Kearney. His initial header was saved by Phillips and then Mitrovic followed it in well. But it is fair to say that Fulham did have, you know, quite a few other chances. They hit the crossbar twice in this one. Mitrovic hit the bar and Joe Bryan hit the bar as well. Phillips made a brilliant save for Charlton, so a point on the road, not a bad result at all for them. And then we have Bristol City beating Reading by 1-0. This unbeaten run for Bristol City continues into the international break, and they're sat in a really good position at the moment. And I mean, even after the international break, they've got 3 or 4 more winnable games coming up, so who knows what position Bristol City will find themselves in come the end of the season. But it was Jeju who gave them the lead after 12 minutes in this one. Quite suspect defending from Reading, you have to say. Some nice work from Eliasson down the right hand side. He beat a couple of Reading players with some step overs and then got the ball into the box. Then for whatever reason, Jeju was left unmarked in the box and had a free header to make it 1-0. If there's one player you want to pick up with the ball coming into the box, it's going to be, you know, their 6'3" striker, but they didn't do that, and it was a well taken goal for Bristol City to go ahead. Now, Reading didn't really offer that much in terms of Daniel Bentley didn't have to do that much in terms of making saves for this one, but they did get in some decent areas. Puskas in the second half had a glorious chance to level this one up. I think it was Ajaria who slipped him in, and if that's a striker playing with confidence, he takes that first time and it's a goal, you know, every day of the week. For whatever reason, he tried to take a touch and then the ball just seemed to skew away from him, and he's just not a striker that's playing with confidence at the moment. He can't hit the back of the net from anywhere. And in the end, the 1 goal was enough for Bristol City to walk away with all 3 points. For Bristol City, I really like watching them play so far this season. I think they've got great balance to their side. And you also have to take into consideration that Bristol City have gone on this miraculous unbeaten run whilst missing quite a few key players. You know, Adam Nagy Bailey's been out, Callis has been out, Benicophobe and De Silva as well has also been out. When these players do start to return to the side, Bristol City could give the top 6 a real good go this year. Then we had Derby beating Luton by 2-0. Not the prettiest game going on this weekend, especially with both goals being scored. Simon Sluga, the Luton Town goalkeeper, had one to forget in this game. I mean, the first goal especially, he had an absolute nightmare with it. It's going to go down as the Pearson own goal. It was a back pass into Sluga. He had no pressure on him really, but the ball just bobbled under his foot. Whether it's a lapse in concentration or what, I don't really know, but that then gives Derby the 1-goal lead. And then from then on, they didn't really have to work that hard to get all 3 points in this one. Luton did get into some decent areas, you know, Collins and Tunnicliffe both had chances which went over the bar, but there wasn't really all too much in it between the two sides. In the second half, we then had Tom Lawrence getting back on the score sheet. Obviously, been a bit controversial in recent weeks, everything that has gone on with Lawrence. I believe the club's fined both him and Mason Bennett 6 weeks' wages, but he was back on the score sheet in this one with, I mean, it wasn't a shot, it was a cross which went into the box, which somehow once again managed to deceive Simon Sluga, the Luton Town goalkeeper, to make it 2-0 to Derby. So a good 3 points for Derby in what was sort of not the best performance of the season so far. Luton were left to be frustrated, and I mean, I'm interested to see if Sluga keeps his place for next time. Then we had Huddersfield beating Hull by 3-0. Now, I thought this would be a really stern test for Huddersfield, but Hull just didn't show up for this one, and Huddersfield were well worth their 3 points. Back-to-back wins, back-to-back clean sheets, and they are now out of the relegation zone going into this international break. The job that the Cali brothers have been able to do there in such a short space of time has been absolutely, you know, miraculous. I knew they were good managers, but I didn't expect this turnaround to happen so quickly. But Huddersfield now finally showing what they're capable of. Colin Grant opening the scoring in the second half. A really nice finish actually. He had quite a bit to do for this goal. Got the ball facing his own goal on the edge of the box, turns swiftly and then fires the ball into the bottom corner. Bakuna then gets his second in as many matches, and Kachunga wraps up in the 82nd minute. Huddersfield were looking good in this one. They were attacking with pace and purpose. I think the last time Huddersfield won consecutive matches was all the way back in September 2017. So that just shows the magnitude of what, you know, the Cali brothers have been able to do so far. Hull dropped way below their standards, and from what I've come to expect from them so far this season, you know, even going forward where they've looked lively so far this season, Huddersfield were easily able to manage them for 90 minutes. So a really positive performance and signs that they're going in the right direction finally. And then we have Millwall beating Leeds by 2-1. Now, the last 48 hours or so has been a bit of a whirlwind for Millwall, with Neil Harris leaving and then this bizarre game against Leeds. It's all been a bit mental lately. Millwall fans, leave in the comments down below what you made of this one. Obviously, the main talking point and controversial thing about this game was the Berardi red card and penalty for Millwall in the first half. Now, I feel like this is going to get a lot of people talking in the comments down below, so I'll give you guys my standpoint on it and feel free to agree or disagree in the comments down below. For me personally, it wasn't a red card, and I don't really think it was a penalty either. Watching the replays, there doesn't really look to be any contact. If there is, it is very minimal. But putting myself into the referee's position in that regard, I can see, you know, in real time, I can see why the referee has given a penalty. But to give the red card makes no sense at all to me. I wouldn't have said it was a clear goal scoring opportunity. Berardi wasn't the last man. He had Phillips covering. It wasn't malicious or dangerous or anything like that. So for the referee to give a red card, absolutely bewildering to me. I don't understand the decision at all. And obviously that was going to have an effect on the game. Jed Wallace expertly stuck away the penalty, and from that point onwards, Millwall, you know, were really growing in confidence. Tom Bradshaw then made it 2-0 with his second goal in as many games, and Bradshaw going forward could be an absolutely pivotal player for Millwall. They really liked him while he was out injured. Being down to 10 men obviously had the effect on Leeds, but they did come out fast for the second half. Alioski scoring about 20 seconds into that half, but Millwall were able to hold on and defended very well and limited Leeds to quite a few chances actually in the second half. In terms of Leeds, obviously that red card and penalty decision sort of killed the game off for them fairly early on in this one. Another quite controversial decision was the fact that Leeds didn't give a penalty for what was probably a bit more blatant for a foul on Jack Harrison. But one thing that I did want to touch on with Leeds was their lack of depth at centre-back. For me personally, I would see that as a little bit of a worry. When Cooper's out of the squad, obviously they got players who can play in that position. They brought in Berardi for this one. You know, Luke Ayling can play there. Sometimes they play Calvin Phillips there, but they've only got two sort of first team recognised centre halves in Cooper and Ben White. And when one of those gets injured, you know, we saw Leeds have a whole bunch of injuries from last season. I can't help but feel like that's an area of weakness for Leeds, which I was surprised they didn't address more of in the summer transfer window. But credit to Millwall, in terms of the performance overall, it was much better than what what we have seen from them in recent weeks, and a massive 3 points for them going into the international break. And then we had Forest beating Brentford by 1 goal, still extending their unbeaten run to 10 games now, and they are sat second in the Championship going into the international break. Now, Nottingham Forest have taken me by surprise this season. I thought that they were capable of maybe being in and around the top 6 or so this season, but with the way they've started, I've really been blown away from them. I think that the recruitment in the summer was absolutely spot on from them, and I didn't expect to be saying that. But I mean, going over them one by one in this game, Samba, the goalkeeper, had another terrific game, produced some fine saves. Samba Sow in midfield, absolute monster. Silva was brilliant for them again, and these sort of players have come in and added to what was already a pretty good Forest squad, you know, with the likes of Lewis Grobin, João Carvalho, Joe Lolly, and the man of the moment, Ben Watson, who once again produced the winner for this game. 2 goals in 2 games now for Ben Watson. This one coming from a corner, the ball eventually fell to Watson. He absolutely smashed it home to make it 1-0 to Forest, and I mean, the place looked like it erupted when that went in. They find themselves in a fantastic position, and they're justifiably there. I think they got some brilliant options in the squad. In terms of Brentford, I've been a bit mixed with what I've made of them so far. I'm with Thomas Frank. Especially in these tough away games, they've not really sort of stamped their authority on them like they have done in previous years. I don't quite know what it is, but something seems missing from them at the moment. And then we have Preston beating Barnsley by 5 goals to 1. What a performance it was from North End, who are now 1 point away from the top of the Championship. No side has scored more goals than Preston in the league so far, with the league's top scorers, and what a blistering performance this was against Barnsley. Now, for the first half of this one, we were the better side from minute 1 in this game. There's no doubt about that, and how we were level at half-time was a bit of a mystery to me. Daniel Johnson did open the scoring with a header after 31 minutes, making it 1-0, but for that first half, we could have killed off the game in 45 minutes. You know, Shunny Maguire had 2 or 3 chances where he probably should have buried at least one of them, and then out of nowhere, Barnsley got back into the game at the end of that first half. A little bit disappointing to concede from another set piece. We saw it in the game against Bristol City that has been a little bit of a weakness for us, defending crosses coming into the box, and it's definitely an area where we need to look into. But for the second half, once again, we absolutely blew Barnsley out of the water. And in touching on Barnsley for a brief moment, I was shocked by how bad they were. Like, this was genuinely an awful performance from them. There was no defensive shape or structure about them at all. I don't know what their game plan was, but they were so easy to get in behind. I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I say we could have had about 10 goals in this game. They were genuinely all over the shop. But Daniel Johnson in that number 10 position absolutely ran this game. 2 goals and an assist for DJ in this one. He needs to be in that number 10 position for the whole of this season, you know. Playing in deeper just doesn't work. He set up Barkhuizen's goal, which put Preston back in front. DJ then got the 3rd of the game. The 4th one scored by Ben Pearson. I am a massive fan of Tom Barkhuizen breaking past the Barnsley backline, and then Ben Pearson made a blistering run from the halfway line to smash it in when the ball was squared to him, and then Josh Harrop made it 5-1 in the 77th minute. After that, Preston had more chances. Jaden Stockley had a free header, which was saved by Radlinger. Brad Potts had a chip, which just went over the bar. It would have been the icing on the cake if David Nugent did finish his chance. He had a glorious one-on-one, but squirmed that one wide. But so far this season, with a fully fit squad and Alex Neil being able to rotate, you know, players week in, week out, we've shown what we're capable of, and to be sat 3rd after 11 games is an amazing achievement, and, you know, long may this continue for North End. In terms of Barnsley though, I do fear for them this season. With more performances like that, I can't see them picking up all too many points. Obviously, they're still yet to win a match since the opening day of the season, and defensively, they made it way too easy for us. They were an absolute shambles. Then we had QPR beating Blackburn by 4 goals to 2. QPR looking back to their former selves in this one. After a couple of dodgy performances, you know, losing 3-0 in midweek against Cardiff, they were back to their usual selves for this one, and they completely took Blackburn apart. I thought that even, you know, the 4-2 scoreline was maybe a little bit flattering for Blackburn, who were really far off the pace in this one. QPR going forward were absolutely excellent, though. It was Eze once again who was running the show. Probably is, at this point in time, one of my favourite players to watch in the Championship. I think that his first touch, his vision on the ball, and now his end product as well, all seems to be falling into place for Eze this season. I don't think that any player has had more successful dribbles up until this point in the season than Eze. He scored the second for QPR in the second half after Naki Wells had put them ahead in the first half. Blackburn did, you know, seemingly have a glimpse of getting back into it with the Bradley Dack penalty, but that was soon put to bed as Bright Asai Samuel put QPR 3-1 up in the 60th minute. Asai Samuel is someone who I think that everyone sees there is potential there. Not always been the final product, but if he can add more goals to his game, QPR could have a seriously good winger on their hands. And then Jordan Hugill added the 4th with a nice header before Adam Armstrong got a consolation goal for Blackburn late on. So really positive performance from QPR. Blackburn, on the other hand, fell well below par. I saw Tony Mowbray's interview after the match for this one. It's fair to say he wasn't a happy man. And then we had Sheffield Wednesday beating Wigan by 1 goal to 0. Wigan still remain to be quite hopeless on on the road so far this season. Another game and another one away from home where they failed to pick up points. Massimo Luongo scoring his first goal for Sheffield Wednesday was enough for this one. I think it's fair to say the referee wasn't the most popular man in Hillsborough at the end of this game either. Wednesday could have easily had more than the one goal they went on to get. Barry Bannon had some very good chances. And speaking of Bannon, he has been someone who has caught my eye for Sheffield Wednesday in recent weeks. I think that his levels of performance have really stepped up recently. Been very pivotal in the heartbeat of that midfield, running the games for them. Got a brilliant eye for picking a pass going forward and has really been setting the tempo for Wednesday lately. So he's been a player who I've enjoyed watching. Wednesday did have the ball in the back of the net for a second time with Stephen Fletcher, but that one was ruled to be offside. Watching the replay back, it looks to be a very close one, and you can't really definitively tell if he was offside or not by the camera angle that I've seen. In terms of Wigan, their best chance to get back into the game probably came from Kiefer Moore as his header was crashed against the crossbar. But apart from that, once again, they were quite below par. And there's such a reliance with Wigan on their home forms that if that starts to fall off a little bit, then they'll just be dragged back into that relegation zone, because away from home you can't really see them picking up points from anywhere. And they've finally gone ahead and done it. Stoke City have won a match this season, beating Swansea away from home by 2-1, and history sort of repeated itself. Last season Swansea had exactly the same thing happening to them against Ipswich Town as they picked up their first win of the season at a very similar point in the season as well. But Swansea, for this one, they were their own worst enemy. They took the lead within the first minute of this game. Andre Ayew following up a rebound, and from that point onwards, you know, from what we have seen of Stoke so far this season, they tend to buckle under pressure when things go against them. They don't really have a reaction to get back into games, but that wasn't the case with this one. Sam Klukas, the former Swansea player, got the equaliser for Stoke in this game, and it wasn't as if it was sort of a smash and grab 2-1 either. Stoke were just the better team for this game. Swansea, by far their worst performance of the season so far, and I'm not quite sure what was missing from this performance. They just looked a little bit sort of one-dimensional, sloppy, going through the gears. They were second to every ball, and Stoke just wanted it more, and that's something that you can't really forgive. Eventually the winner for Stoke did come in the 90th minute, Scott Hogan following up a rebound to make it 2-1 to Stoke, but they did have quite a few chances prior to that. You know, Lee Gregory had a couple, Etebo had a chance which hit the crossbar. I'd say that Stoke deservedly walked away with all 3 points from this one, and the result which you feel is absolutely massive for Nathan Jones. You know, going into another international break, I feel like if Stoke didn't win this game, then he would have been sacked. I feel like a draw wouldn't have been enough for them in this one, but a win for Stoke, hopefully for his sake, will get their season going. And then to wrap things up, we have West Brom beating Cardiff by 4-2. West Brom deservedly sat at the top of the Championship after a fantastic performance. Now, every time I see Pereira play, he's getting better and better. Another goal in this game, and fantastically taken to open the scoring up. Sort of a first time sort of finesse shot into the bottom corner, brilliantly taken. Dan Garner made it 2-0 before the first half was over with a nice finish. Charlie Austin got his first league goal of the season as well and made it 3-0 to West Brom. At that point they were looking fairly comfortable, although Cardiff did put up a valiant effort to try and get back into this game. Danny Ward with 2 quite quick fire goals to make it 3-2, but to ensure a comeback wasn't on the cards, Romain Soyuz did wrap up the game in the 93rd minute. And you know, a lot of the plaudits are going to go to the West Brom front four, but so far this season that partnership in midfield of Soyuz and Livermore has been absolutely brilliant. Brilliant balance in there between the two. Livermore doing a lot of work off the ball, and then Soyuz really gets them going moving forward. At this point in time, I feel like West Brom are what Fulham are trying to be. I think they're more of a completed side than Fulham are at the moment. They've obviously got brilliant star quality going forward, but in terms of a philosophy, a way to play, and how they've gone about the season so far, West Brom have really impressed me, and I think you'll struggle to find a side who will be above them this season. I really do think that they will be up around the top 2 this year. I fancied them to be there at the start of the season, and the work that Bilic has done at the club so far and the recruitment during the summer, they're looking in a very good position. But there were all the games that did go on this weekend, so make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below as to what you made of your team's performance. In terms of my goal of the weekend, I mean, we had a lot scored. I think that in terms of technique on the goal, it probably goes to Ivan Cavallero for his goal against Charlton. In terms of what it meant to me, I probably have to give it to Ben Pearson. And then in terms of my result of the weekend, once again we had some big results. I'm going to have to give it to Stoke City. It's taken them this long, but they finally walked away with all 3 points away from home against high-flying Swansea. I'll give my result of the weekend to Stoke. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. We've got loads to discuss in the comments down below, so make your thoughts known. Make sure you do go ahead and subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.